SEO this week. Let's get into it.
Did you know a press release alone isn't enough? Visibility is key. You need a multi-platform strategy to share your story across news, audio, video, and social media. Welcome to Magic PR, where your press release transforms into a powerful media experience, maximizing exposure and engagement. We distribute your release to top outlets like Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, Business Insider, and more. Plus, your release is SEO optimized, ensuring better search rankings. But we don't stop there. We turn your press release into a podcast, distributing it across 25 platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. Then, we create a social media content for Facebook, X, and Instagram, and even transform your story into a video press release for YouTube and top media sites. Video drives over 80% of higher engagement, and short-form content is king. We make viral videos for your YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and more. At Magic PR, we don't just publish, we amplify. Get your press release seen, heard, and shared everywhere. Visit magicpr.com today and take your brand to the next level. Back to you, Clint.
All right, so lots of news, lots of questions this week. So we'll skip the standard blah, blah, blah and get right into it. How's that? Let's see. AIO counts as a block. So essentially what John Mueller has come out and said is that if you have a page inside of the search results, everything that shows up is going to be considered position 1 in Search Console. So let me get an example going here. Let's go. What is SEO? All of these links inside of Search Console will all be counted as position 1 in Search Console. Irregardless of where they show up in here, they're position 1 in Search Console, which is absolutely zero help because this citation here, which is not as nearly as important as this citation, or is more important than this citation here, just based on click behavior, etc., right? Where these could be more important than any of those. So, but I get it. They had to do some things, right? So, essentially, if you show up in Search Console and you have all of a sudden this exorbitant amount of number 1 rankings, it might not be what you think is going on. It might not be happening. So, take a look at those. It's just another way that Google's screwing up. Essentially, it was probably, in my opinion, the only decent part of the Search Console was impressions and position count, average position count. And now they're screwing those numbers up by putting AIOs as position number 1. It would have been better for users, in my opinion, to just say AIO. That's the position. And then that would be at the end of it. It's in the AIO. We're showing this keyword in the AIO. That's it. That would have been enough. But to add it to position 1 just seems kind of lazy to me. But, I'm not Google. Deposition offers view of Google's ranking systems. There's a lot of antitrust stuff, and a lot of the stuff is getting kicked out back and forth from the DOJ stuff, and people are following along with it. One of the things I like to point out here is the 3 signals that Google is using. Body, this is keywords, keyword density, keyword variations, that kind of stuff. Clicks, this is what we commonly are calling now as nav boost. Where you're ranking and are you getting clicks, and the more clicks you get versus where you're ranking will adjust your ranking and such. And then this is backlinks, anchors, and a lot of people before have been current. Oh, you got to be on relevant websites with relevant content, and yes, that is good because you'll get some relevant traffic that'll refer to you, but it's not the end all be all of all backlinks. And they're really using the anchor text to help define what your page is about. And I've said that for ages now. I've shown how you can use anchor text and increase the ranking of your pages. I've shown how you can use the anchor text, and I've taught it to negative SEO a page with just anchors, with the proper anchor text, or improper anchor text doesn't work. So this is, it's really easy, and it's kind of like the ABCs of SEO. Get good links with good anchors, do relevant content that's high quality, and get clicks via the SERPs based off of where you're ranking, and hopefully it'll carry you over. So pretty interesting, though, to see it like be validated. Consequences of changing URLs. So I thought this article was interesting because a lot of people, there's agencies out there that won't work with you unless they are allowed to change your website. And in a lot of cases, that is probably necessary. Like it was just willy-nilly threw up, or it was overly complicated, or your website just kind of looks like bleh. And so they want to change your website, which is all good, especially if your URL structure is jacked up. But most people, when they're doing that, tell clients, oh, it'll be no big deal. We'll just do some 301 redirects. Google will find everything. Google will keep your rankings. It'll be okay, which is 100% not the case. Like if you change URL structure, you are going to change the rankings of those web pages. But if you understand that, I think you're better off, especially as a business owner. Just, don't allow yourself to get disillusioned that changing all this stuff is not going to affect your ranking in one way or the other. Maybe it increases it, or maybe it decreases it. It depends on where your website's at. Right now, he's yawning for no reason. It depends on where your website's at right now, so that could dictate where or what the effect of these URL changes actually has on your website. So, but if it's not ranking for anything, and you're not getting any traffic, then what the hell's the harm, right? But if it is ranking and you are getting traffic and people are converting and you are getting leads, this should be like the list of you better be right if you're recommending this kind of stuff to a client. So that's pretty much a short version of what this says, and the different variations. Just keep the URLs as it is, redesign the page, still going to affect content. 301s still going to affect the rankings, and changing the URL without applying any redirects. If there's no rankings and there's no backlinks, you're not even going to notice. But you can read some more about that. And hopefully make a good decision with your SEO partner. Finding and testing internal link changes with Screaming Frog. There's a lot of tools out there. I'm kind of partial to Link Whisper for WordPress right now. They're doing a great job with AI, but there's a lot of tools out here that'll read this and analyze metrics and stuff. But that being said, a lot of setting that stuff up is complicated. If you look at these two posts here and then combine it with this post here, you actually get a lot of benefit out of search or Screaming Frog in regards to seeing some of this stuff. And this will go through and tell you how to read the Screaming Frog reports and et cetera, and then how to implement it and turn these features on. I suggest you use it if you're paying for Screaming Frog. Again, this post and these two other posts here, especially the engrams, those two are really interesting and really, really useful and easy to do. The hard part is you just won't do them a lot. So you're going to have to get the instructions every time. But if you're doing this a lot, or, checking on things monthly or whatever, then maybe it'll be better for you. But, in my case, I'm doing these maybe once a quarter. But you can run through and look at and check these out, especially the interlinking stuff, and leverage Screaming Frog a lot better. It also take away there is a deliverable when you're doing this. So if you're an SEO agency or you're an in-house SEO, you can create deliverables using this tool that you've bought, you pay for once a year. That'll make you look smart. This is how long does it take to rank in Google, and I think this is a good post, especially for If you're doing like a presentation to business owner or you're an agency guy or whatever, or girl. And we always say, hey, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to rank. And we want you to understand that. We're not telling you that because it's slow, because we're slow and we want your money, which, don't get me wrong, your money is really nice. But it is actually a lot of truth to that. So 1.74% of newly published pages rank in the top 10 within a year. Imagine that. If you think about that, that's kind of shitty. 1.4% of newly published pages rank within a year. So to say that it does take a lot of time to rank pages is, that's pretty on par. No one's lying to you. 40% of pages that ranked in the top 10 did so within a month. That's really on page. If you're doing that fast, it's on page, and also authority, pre-existing authority. So you take that into account. So 40%, if you have brand new website, you have no authority whatsoever, you're not going to be one of those 40%. You're the other 60 point or 59 point, whatever it is, 59.2, whatever, percent that aren't going to be within the top 10 within a month. It takes less time to rank for high volume keywords now compared to 2017. That's good to know. And I attribute that to the institutional hatred of backlinks and the renaming of them from article marketing to guest posting to outreach to digital PR now. So links getting more expensive. People aren't just doing links willy-nilly anymore. They're actually charging for them. I've seen a couple of services where the average link price has gone up to $450 for a backlink. So, take that into account. It takes longer to rank for high volume keywords, and that's easy. That's the low hanging fruits for the long tails. So that makes sense. 72.9% of pages in Google's top 10 are more than 3 years old. So that kind of tells you that if an SEO says, in general, if they're proven to be trustworthy in the rest of their conversation, they tell you it's just going to take some time. It's going to take some time. And here's some solid numbers as to how long it's actually going to take. So if you know this coming in, then you have a better chance of understanding why your SEOs are creating a whole bunch of long tail keywords and getting low search volumes and building your authority up and building your backlinks up. And then as you do that and start going after the high volume keywords with your pillar pages, you'll see more success. But it does take time. But they got to have a plan to do all of those things. It's not just write new content, 30 new articles a month, ta-da, and you're going to rank for higher. You are for a little bit until Google gets pissed at you because you have no backlinks, and they're like, oh, you're a shit-ass site. And they kick you out of the index within the first couple, first 180 days or 130 days, I think is the number, right? So you got no backlinks, and so they're not crawling you, so your page isn't getting crawled, they're going to drop you out of the index, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So you don't want that. But if you understand these numbers and what reality is showing you, then you have a better understanding of why you're put on contracts where your SEO or your at your office or your agency is telling you, hey, it's going to take some time. This is why the numbers don't lie. Strategic approach that outperforms creating new content on the short version is recycle it. And this isn't just, going in and changing the published dates. While that did at some points work, it's not necessarily working now. But you can recycle this content. I'm going to get rid of some of this coding for later. You essentially what you're doing is you go in and rewrite it. If it's a stats thing, you can update the stats. There's new stats available. You add those stats, change. If you're looking at, you have Microsoft Clarity, you see a heat map, and people are looking at one particular section and then skipping a whole nother section and delete the old section and add some more stuff to the one that they're really interested in, that kind of stuff. And that'll really help you a lot. Plus, you're building backlinks to this content that you're promoting in the first place. So why delete the URL and lose all those backlinks, or do 301s when you can keep that URL and create a better piece of content for that keyword, and start off right from the bat, right off from the get-go with good information. One other thing I would add to that is download the backlinks and then get them recrawled so that Google refreshes those, and you're essentially reminding Google that they're there. You can do that by sending it through an indexer or a tool like CodeLinkry to get it recalled and kind of refresh the thought process of Google in regards to, hey, these are here. Give me some credit, yo. Store optimization. So essentially, this is really about the merchant centers feed, and there's some things like project promotions rejection rate. Essentially, if you're not using this, it's going to give you an incomplete, and then you're going to have problems. If you do some promotions and stuff, you'll get some more exposure, and you keep that updated. Your exposure will eventually kind of compound upon itself. And hey, this one's always updating their promotions, so we're going to add you more and more, that kind of thing. Versus someone who doesn't. Having a return policy is good for you. Having the proper resolutions of your images set up. Essentially, you're just kind of looking for best practices. And here's the best practice for a product image is 1500 by 1500, and then having the thumbnails and versions of that, etc. And then using schema to add to the data that's in your merchant centers feed, and then having global store ratings and e-wallets, and tying all that in together, essentially just kind of fully optimizing what's available to you in the merchant center. In particular, if you have products, unfortunately, you can't put services in there. I checked, really wanted to do services in there, but you can't. So this is probably a good thing to know if you're doing a lot of e-commerce SEO, which I'm getting more and more into. We talk about this like 130 days, and if you're crawl that index and etc. This is another study that just kind of continues to support that theory that you're historically just going to get removed, that their Googlebot's not going back to you. So you want to keep popping that up a little bit more and doing some indexing, etc. Just kind of read this through, but the short version is everything between this period right here. Go get it recrawled, get the bots going to it. If you're doing that content repurposing that we talked about a couple minutes ago, that's good for you to understand. And this is essentially just a little bit of why it's going on and what you can do to fix it. And understand that, again, it's not 100% foolproof, as just because 130 days you're going to find examples where that's not the case, and 130 days where you're going to find it is the case. But for the most part, this is some good information to know. There is the Search Console or Screaming Frog settings to do it. I have it probably, I want to go back like 2 or 3 weeks, or the instructions on how to set that up to actually get to see. I'll scroll down here to see this days since last crawled feature. There's a couple buttons in Screaming Frog you got to push to turn that on, but once you got it, then you're good. I think you have to do it every time you reopen it and do a crawl too, so just be cognizant of that. And then just run this every once in a while, and everything below 130 days, send it to a tool like CodeLinkry, or if it's getting down close to these, like I would be doing 100 days, right? And that's kind of every run it every quarter and every 100 days. Anything that's been 100 days or more, send it to like your co-link or another indexer, a bulk indexer that'll get the Googlebot going there. And then run this again in a couple days, make sure that those are kind of refreshed. And then if everything is, some of them just don't get recrawled, then those will be the ones that you want to do the content refreshing or just delete the damn things. Relevance Engineering, pruning with embeddings and SEO. And essentially this article is all about cleaning up your old content, and versus this would going full scorched and everything not currently deleting it, right? And this is doing it the smart way and looking at the embeddings and topical relevance and stuff, and is essentially using some Panda sheets in your search console to kind of to figure out which ones to keep and which ones to get rid of. This is also useful for doing the content updating, content repurposing. What is it called? Refresh, recycling the content. You can use this methodology to find which ones should be recycled, for example. And are there any more gaps that you could be fulfilling, etc. So everything's here to set this up for the most part. If you're going to use it has it's not giving you the Python scripts, right? It would be nice if it did, but if you can take this and kind of give it the Search Console and figure it out, this would probably be the best bet. This one, these guys are starting to put out a lot of content, which is really interesting and really cool, but they're not giving you the meat of it. Like, this is how we did it, which sucks. But if you can take that and reverse engineer it, that'd be good. I think this would be one of those things that I'm going to try to reverse engineer. I'll do, and see what happens. Keyword clustering by search intent with Python. There's a lot of tools, Keyword Cupid, et cetera, that create topical maps, and you can do some keyword clustering. This lets you do it with Python. Unless you're into Python and you like looking at these kind of generic tables and stuff and figuring out all this math and then figuring out creating visualizations, this is kind of boring. You're better off using this is a good way to learn, but it's a lot of work to learn something that is essentially someone else already has. It's a lot better. So let's put it that way. This one is from the folks over at Neil Patel. It's SEO Auditing Pricing. And I like this because there's very few people that are actually talking about the differences between the different prices and what you should expect when you pay. And frankly, if free audits or free tools is quick scans, right? These are easy audits. Local businesses with little tiny ass sites, etc., would be kind of in this range. And then these are full scale, setting up a marketing plan for digital marketing plan, SEO, and looking for some more, etc. stuff, and then even bigger. But you can kind of see if you're looking for an audit and you're expecting free, then this is kind of what you get, right? And then what you should expect if you pay for more expensive things. So this is really cool. Love them or hate them. I mean, this agency has got 10K clients. That's what their clients are paying. Actually, I think they're paying 10 for one and 19 for another that I know of for sure. 2 clients that these guys have. So they're not cheap. They're not pissing or playing with the $500 SEO clients. They're playing with the big boys. So this is actually very useful, and I appreciate them creating this. Pop-ups, convincing pop-ups, opt-ins and pop-ups. We hate them as marketers, but can't deny the fact that users fill them out. Users use them consistently. One thing I like to add is here's how to add them. If you're using WordPress, finding a plugin is probably the best. I would find a plugin that can do pop-ups and or pop-unders because in our testing, the content that's in these pop-ups is actually indexable, and it's helps the ranking of the page. It's considered part of the page it's really good. And if you're not building a list, you should probably consider doing it with pop-ups and pop-unders because they do work, regardless of what us as marketers. I hate them. But people still fill them out. You can still build a list with them. So use them. Recommends product brand name in the title. Essentially what this is saying is if you make a purse, then you have a Gucci purse and you have a XYZ purse and whatever purse. Use the brand names in the titles in your merchant center feed to distinct that you have multiple brands of the same product. That will get you exposed a lot more than if you have one single brand. You only sell Gucci, then you're only going to be listed for your one Gucci purse. Whereas if you have 50 purse or 10 different brands of the same or of a purse, then you're more likely to show up more. So add the brand names to that. Easy peasy. Title tags and how to write them. There's really want to share this because there's a couple formula things in here that are helping stuff out. That are helping out in regards to improving your title tags and potentially getting SEO benefit out of doing so. So check that out. There's a couple of tools. They're just these two checklists right here, and then this prompt, so you can use the title tags and then. Okay, so you would use the title, these two checklists and this prompt to get some new title tag ideas. I struggle with these sometimes because you're using AI to create articles, etc., and then the titles come out cheesy. They're cheesy, and you just want some better ideas. So check out those two templates. I think they're fairly decent. So why not? And SEO forecasting. If you don't know what this is, it's essentially educated guess based off of search volume or what you might get as a result of the effort and work that is going into your SEO campaigns. Again, I just educated guessing. So you can check these out. I've used them and then stopped using them and used them and stopped using them. Just because I think a lot of times it's, you have this estimated monthly traffic and then the average CTR, and then you get clients' hopes up. And ultimately, that's not always reality. And things work and things don't. And so it creates a point of contention. Even if you say, hey, this is forecasted. This is what we estimate to happen. Sometimes clients will just hold that over you and you have to deal with it. All right, let's get into questions. Should I be concerned about non-canonical URLs appearing in the Search Console? Google Search Console is showing some URLs as indexed, but they're not the canonical ones I set. Is this normal behavior, or does it mean that Google is ignoring my canonical tags? Content is identical, so I'm a bit confused. So to me, it sounds like they're showing the hashtags, the highlighted snippets, and you can see an example that highlights something, and then you can copy link to highlight, and those will show up. And essentially, it's a hashtag. There's a lot of the table of contents tools bring it up specifically. And I think, honestly, it's actually not a bad thing. The canonical is set for you, assuming your site doesn't override that. And like, we'll do this, right? Click to highlight. And all of this after the hashtag is sending it to that specific page, part of the page, where you can see here this. And as long as you're doing in the page source, the canonical is still correct, then you're okay. So let me see here. Control F, rel canonical. See, we're on this URL, but the canonical is still there. And it's okay if users are asking this question and Google wants to send them specifically to this part of the page. Totally fine. I don't see how that's a bad thing. And there's people out there claiming that these table of contents things are hurting your rankings and that they're hurting your standing in the helpful content update, but they provide zero supplementary documents proving their assertion or assertion, and they provide no. And I did the research to try to find where they could possibly be getting this information, and the only place I ended up was they were getting out of their ass and making it up. So be careful who you're following out there. Yeah, but it's okay. You're not hurting anything by having those in there. Now, if you're ecom and you're using parameters like shopping cart things and that's showing up, then you have a problem because you don't want Googlebot adding and removing things in your cart and creating new URLs. But if it's a hashtag to your blog pages, for example, which, since this is a vague question, I'm assuming that's what it is, it's okay. New location. Should I update my website or start over? This person is moving from one part of the country to the other, and they want to know if they should restart their website. Definitely not. You can keep the other rankings and then essentially change the addresses on the website and all that stuff, and then add new content for your new locations, and even highlight it when you move, and etc. You're going to need a new Google My Business. You can delete the old one or just turn it into a service area map, assuming that you can do that. But if you're not actually providing that service there anymore whatsoever, then yeah, just shut down the map. You can even probably change the addresses so you can keep your reviews and stuff. Expect that your map will get suspended. But you can change the address to the new location, keep all your reviews, and submit the documents in a reconsideration request saying that you moved, and potentially keep all the history and stuff. You're going to lose any rankings you had potentially for a little bit. But if you are moving from a hard place to an easy place, you may just kick in right at number one too. So there is that option. But suspect that if you change the address map on your map route, it's probably going to get suspended, and you need to do the reconsideration request. So I would put that on your last of things to do. Excessive 410 crawls. Essentially, this person is looking at his Google Search Console and seeing that a lot of the 410 pages that he created are being crawled over and over again, and that's just going to happen. It's not a bad thing. It's just Google's finding them, and it's just going to take some time before it kicks in and is saved that those are no longer there. If it's doing it a lot, I would actually look more into why it's going to those pages. Like, are those pages that you 410, do they have backlinks? And if they did have backlinks, can you redirect it to a like page or some other page that would get some value out of those? Especially, typically it's really the backlink thing that's kicking those in. It may remember a lot of those and save them, but if it's finding backlinks, more often than not, that's when I see that those 404s and those 410s keep getting triggered over and over again. So look into that. And also there's the large owner's guide to managing your call budget. There's a test on here. I thought it was pretty interesting, that can kind of help you out with what you're running into in regards to crawling versus indexing, et cetera, but mainly in the crawl budget space. So check this thing out too. Change a URL. New one returns a 404. Ranking drop. Should I 301 or go back to the old URL? One, if you change the URL and now you have a 404, it means that you busted something, and that page is essentially you deleted it. That's why there's a 404. So, especially if it's the new one, you broke something. When you change the URL, you did something wrong. And so you have to fix that problem first, and then you redirect the old one, or you go back to the old URL. So if you clear, it's really hard to break a URL when you change it. So my guess is that if you go back to the old one, you're probably gonna be your best bet, and because you don't know what you're doing. But the right answer is get the new one actually working and then do the redirect. Page with redirect homepage affected. These variations, if they all work, they'll work on individual URLs as well as your homepages. And so you'll essentially have 4 working versions of your website. And in theory, if you have a canonical set to the version you want, then it would be okay. But it's not okay. You don't want to do that. So use htaccess, pick the default one and use it and get your htaccess correct, and fix this problem so that these don't work. And this is common. You would not believe how common that is. You want to go in there and save the day real quick as an SEO guy? Find this, and it'll be, again, it's common to have this problem. Sharing position tracking list. Why is calling it's a rank tracker? I'm sharing my rank tracker, and why you would charge your client extra to see their own rank tracker, it doesn't make no damn sense to me. But if you don't want to share access or provide a report out of your rank tracker, just create a Looker Studio, and so that they can read your queries inside a Search Console. It's kind of for the purposes of what they're looking for, live keyword lists. Search Console in the queries would be the best application for this situation, in my opinion. And this was just funny to me. Dude's mother-in-law busted up his Millennium Falcon that he built with this kid. But there you go. That was SEO this week. Hopefully you got something out of that. No tools this week. There's a couple tools that I found that I wanted to test out. Yoel, I think I showed it, but I actually got a tour of Yoel's tool for topic map generation. And I liked what I saw, and I saw some link building opportunities there too. So I want to go through that a little bit on my own first, and then try to build out the topical maps with his tool. And then the things that I had in my head were mainly around link building with cloud stuff, using that data and in conjunction with some Corelight stuff. So I think that'll be a really cool video all by itself, assuming that I get some time to do that this week. So with that, thank you very much for watching SEO this week. Hope you got something out of it. And see you next time.